Hey, halo everyone. Selamat datang di Skill Tree Online. Nah, di episode kali ini kita spesial nih. Ini bakal banyak ngebahas tentang gimana kalau di produk itu banyak fokus ke bentar. Eee, tadi ada, gua ngeset, YouTube-nya sendiri. Oke, jadi kita hari ini akan belajar banyak tentang kalau produk itu kalau di game sendiri terutama di mobile itu kan kita harus tetap iterasi gimana caranya biar terus, eee, let's say kita bisa ngurangin, acquisition cost-nya dari user, terus misalkan kita bisa ngurangin, KPI-KPI yang lain dan optimize dan tentunya bikin kita secara lebih profit lah untuk menjadi game kita nih. Kita juga misalkan ada feedback, gimana cara kita bisa lebih cepat buat nge-push feedback-nya dan gimana cara kita bisa, lebih cepat karena di game dev itu terutama di mobile itu really really kompetitif yang kayak, kita harus cepet untuk, adapt dan nge-push, produk kita jadi, eee, lebih apa namanya, lebih spesifik ke target market yang kita tuju. Nah, I will talk in English. So, um, thank you everyone for coming. So today we're gonna learn about like how to make your game survive and thrive, especially like even though it is console, it is in PC or is it in the mobile platform? I think on all platform in general. So without further ado, we're gonna learn from introduce from Heon, CEO of TentuPlay. How are you, Heon?
Hi, hi. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. How are you today? Are you in like Korea, right?
Yes, I'm based in Seoul in South Korea and currently it's snowing.
I see. So it's quite different in Indonesia. It's a bit like hot and kind
Yes,
of like humid a little bit. But like okay,
yes.
may we know more about yourself before we kind of learn to about the material? May would you
Yeah,
introduce yourself?
yeah, sure. So again, my name is Heian and I am the CEO of TentuPlay. So Well, previously I was working as a data scientist and started this company in 2015.
Right.
And we are both developing a game and also game technology, which is Tend to Play, which is I'm going to share today.
Right. Thank you so much. So, may we know a little bit of what we're gonna learn today before we do the presentation?
Yeah, sure. I will share the fast cycle approach when
Right.
developing and operating games and how to make your game survive and thrive, as you can see in the title, and share our real examples and also how you can do it by yourselves.
Yes. So that's interesting because there's a lot of like Indonesian dev that kind of like on the rise. So to make sure that the product thrive and survive, we're gonna learn more about in this session, right? Okay. Without further ado, let the floor is yours, Heon. May the producer would share the screen. Okay. Okay. The floor is yours, Heon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, again, hi everyone. I'm very honored to talk in Skill Tree today. Thank you for having me. And again, I am the CEO of TentuPlay, and my name is Heian. I'm going to share the fast cycle approach when developing and operating games and how to make your game survive and thrive. So to briefly introduce about our company, we are a game tech company based in South Korea with people from five different countries, and we are developing Tend to Play. You can see on the left hand side, and which empowers game developers to succeed in games, and also developing a PvP game called Project P, which is the one you can see on the right hand side. So let's get started. So many games are released every day, and when it comes to Google Play and App Store, For example, in mobile games, 1,000 games are released per day, but only a few survive. Game trends change quickly, and you don't know if your game will succeed until it is released. But if you do some tests or experiments on your games and your players, you can increase the success rate by 130%. But poor test design and poor monitoring and measuring results will lead to zero insight. Then, how can you quickly adapt your game to trends and make your game survive and thrive? First, build a data driven approach to learn user behavior. Second, set your hypothesis and test it with data. See the result. And finally, if it works, apply it to your games. Run this test and update cycle fast. And TentuPlay can help you with that. With TentuPlay, you can analyze and segment the users you want to target. You might have a hypothesis for that specific player. Create a personalized interaction at the customized journey. See the performance of the action and see how the action impacts the game ultimately. Or you can let TentuPlay AI do the work for you. Then, what does personalized interaction at the customized journey means? It means providing a personalized gaming experience for each player. In a simple way, it can be providing personalized offers at a specific moment, or providing different character images or backgrounds to each user, or personalized level difficulties to each player with remote config. Let's have a look at one of the case studies. So this game is called Lokapala, developed by Anantarupa Studio in Indonesia. Lokapala is the first mobile esports game from Indonesia. In this video, the YouTube influencer Viano Gaming played Lokapala in his own way with a character called Lando. Yay, he won! And yes, here comes a customized journey. So after playing the game, the player found that he got a special offer from the game. And he says, Viano, this is the first time you have played with Lando. The rank mode win rate of Smatlet over the last 7 days is 73%. And players with the best rank mode win rates use these items, blah, 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 and we recommend using these items to raise your win rate with Samadlit. So it looks like this player has a competitive spirit. So the game tried to interact with the player with a personalized message recommending the strategy to increase the win rate. And at the same time, since the player prefers to play with Lando, it suggests costumes for Lando. So, in this game, the game provided personalized messages to interact with the gamer on the customized journey, which is after playing with Lando in this case. And next, after testing your hypothesis on the player, you can quickly see the result if it works. This game is called Rise, developed by Big Stack and published by Highbrow in South Korea. It is a mobile MMORPG that has reached more than 500,000 downloads. So before Big Stack found a publisher, the game was developed and operated by one person, and the studio faced many difficulties. As there were many early churns, the studio wanted to analyze the causes of churns by analyzing in-game data. Therefore, the studio needed an easy and automated tool for integration and analysis. And the last scene you just saw is where the personalized interaction comes up. So the studio let TentuPlay AI segment players with different playing personas, take action, and see the performance of the AI. TentuPlay's AI identified several personas among the players, and the studio selected two: no purchase users and possible whale users. No purchase users are those who have never purchased any items since signing up. So TentuPlay AI identified those players and sent them messages like, "Hi, we would like to guide you to the items other players have purchased the most as their first purchase. You can enjoy the game even more by buying the following item." And the CTR, click-through rate, of the message was 9.5%, resulting 19.1 increase in the number of paying users to the newly registered user ratio. Possible whale users are those who are likely to become whale users in the future. TentuPlay AI identified those players and sent them messages like, "Hey, thank you for purchasing the starter package or some other item the player has bought recently. Most of the players who bought this product purchased the following product additionally and grew faster." So the click-through rate of this message was 55.8%, resulting 34.5% increase in the number of paying users to daily active users ratio. So for your information, there were no updates to the game during this experiment. So all the recommended items are provided with reasons and context tailored to each persona, so that no purchase persona users can enjoy the game more with successful first-time purchase. And possible whale persona users could grow rapidly with additional purchases recommendation. So this first cycle experiment approach of TentuPlay is not limited to games with specific genres. So as long as you wish to test and update your games and game players quickly, we can help your games thrive. So this is a narrative game called Bride of Twilight, developed by Lumiere Entertainment. It has been launched in 15 different countries. This otome-like narrative game has 3 male characters, and the players read and move on to the next phase with each character by making decisions. Lumiere Entertainment wanted to learn which character the player liked the most and want to nurture the relationship between the character and the player. So this is the mailbox where the studio added personalized interaction. The studio wanted the experiment with one character first. TentuPlay found that 7% of players prefer specific character and recommended products that help players to proceed with the story related to that character. So like, "Hey, Lucy," which is the name of the user in this case. "You can enjoy the game more with Jade," it's a character name, "by purchasing the following items and making more good memories with Jade." So with personalized interaction, the sales of the recommended products increased. And with this experiment, we learned that even a simple personalized interaction that reflects users' preferences for a character could boost purchases. So if your game has various characters, collect data that can reflect the user's preferences for each character. By leveraging the collected data to understand each user's preferences for a character and sending a simple messages reflecting this, your game will generate extra revenue. So when you run this fast cycle experiment approach, you will be able to improve the game overall and see how the action impacts the game. So although the number of players in the segment tested for the previous games were small, for example, as mentioned, 7% in the case of Bride of Twilight, each action significantly impacted each segment. So if you cover more players with more experiments, it will increase overall game performance. This game is called Raising Ants, which is developed by indie game studio GAM Studio in South Korea. It is an idle defense RPG, and the player needs to merge the ant eggs and worms to grow their ants to defend themselves against enemies. Sometimes they need some defensive strategy, such as leveling up their breeder or reproduction ability with limited resources. After 1 year of operation, the studio concerned about the gap between new users and the existing users, and they thought the gap led to the new users' churn. So the studio decided to provide personalized interaction to players. So since the game is small with not too many players, the game was able to provide personalized interactions with the majority of users, and it showed quite an impact with a few interactions. With TentuPlay, the game provided each player with personalized messages based on their play patterns. In this case, the raising ants show the personalized offers, personalized messages via pop-ups. And this pop-ups includes how the top players with similar play patterns use red jelly and what they have bought. For example, for users who are not active users, the game sends personalized messages saying, "Hi, you are a genuine Aldo gamer. You've ranked top 1.98% on the Idle Play. You can use red jelly to level up gold mining, strengthen the ant's health, or increase the probability of spawning level 3 ants. See what other top idle players bought." And also different strategies and item recommendations for different play patterns, fast-growing players. So by interacting with the majority of player, retention increased by 79%. So this fast cycle system empowers your team with experiment and analytics insights, ultimately letting them succeed in games. Of course, you can build your own data-driven approach and infrastructure for your team, but for a game developer, building a tool would be an additional burden, and TentuPlay can lessen their burden. But before we move on to how you can let game players focus on creativity, empower your team, let me explain deeper how you can do it by yourself. First, how to build a data-driven approach to learn user behavior. So let me start with an example. This is three-match puzzle in South Korea, and a player enters some level and start playing the game. And played. But while playing the game, the move was not enough, so the player continued playing with 90 gems. As a result, the player cleared, obtained the gold, and decorated the floor with the gold that he or she have got. So even though the game is simple, as you have seen, the player's journey is extremely complicated to log and analyze. Compared to the customer journeys of website or app behavior, there are too many distractions and possible outcomes, or the very worst churn. So we recommend that you don't consider your user merely a user, but a protagonist on their own journey, and to analyze their journey similarly to how one would analyze the journey of protagonists of a literature. Utilize the 5W1H: who, what, when, where, how, and why. However, the question of why is the most central to analysis and what we are trying to find out. So you will need to collect and analyze data of the other categories, the 4W1H questions. Who would refer to a player or the character that a player is playing. What would be an action that a player engage in, such as killing a monster or equipping a new costume. How provides the context to actions, allowing for a more complete narrative, such as killing a monster by using a skill or equipping a new costume by consuming in-game currency. When is relatively straightforward, only requiring you to record the timestamp of each event. Where can be answered by recording which stage a player is playing, whether it be PvE or PvP. So through recording data which answer these questions, you can reverse engineer a comprehensive narrative of a user for any event or action within the game. For example, let's think of a situation where player A plays and beats stage 12 and receives some goals as a reward. Following the 4W1H, you can write this situation as follows. Who, player A, what, get 1053 gold, win the stage, how, when, this time, where, at the end of stage 12. So this can be translated and recorded within data tables that follow the 4W1H format. So let me show you how to generalize and streamline the process so that you too can utilize this methodology in recording and analyzing data. First, simplify the structure of your log data. For us, we divided events into entities and actions. Entities are like subjects of a sentences. They are the principal agent that are conducting an action or on which an action is taking places. Examples of entities would be players, characters, currency, items. Actions are literally actions. Players may sign up, log in, level up your game. Currency such as gold, hearts, or diamond may be acquired or consumed. So similarly to how a sentence is created via the combination of a subject and a predicate, an event is created when an entity makes an action. So going back to the example, when the player X enters level 54, he or she watched the ad to get 2 moves and entered and played. But while playing, the move was not enough for the player, so continued playing with 90 gems. And as a result, the player cleared the level 54 stage and obtained 1,053 golds as a reward by watching an additional 30% advertisement. And as a result, the player has 2,203 golds in total, and the player spends 1,740 gold to decorate the floor, and the player only has 463 gold. And this can be written in the sentence like this. So among these sentences, you need to specify entity and action for 4W1H description. So here you can recognize add entity very easily. And the sentences related with player watching ads can be rephrased like this. So when player X entered level 54, he or she watches the ad to get 2 moves. The player obtained golds as a reward by watching an additional 30% ad. The first sentence, when, you can stamp the time of event, who, player X, what, reward ad, which can have ID of ad move number 2, and in the category of ad entity, how, start watching the ad, finish watching the ad, where, at the beginning of the stage. For the second sentence, when, same here, you can stamp the time of the event, who, player X, what, reward ad, which has ID of a add 30 more, how, start watching the ad or finish watching the ad, where, when getting the gold reward. Also, another entity that can find easily is currency. The sentences related in game currency can be rephrased like this. Player X obtained 1,053 gold from reward ads and has 2,203 in total. Player X used 1,740 gold to decorate the floor, and 463 gold is left. So again, for the first sentence, when, stamp the time, player who, player X, what, get gold currency 1,053, and player has 2,203 in total. From where, by watching the reward ad with this ID location here. And this reward ad can be also be logged, as you can see in the previous example. For the second sentence, when, same here, who, player X, what, gold, get using the gold 1,740, and now the player has 463 in total, from where, by decorating the luxury room floor. So far, you learned how to build a data-driven approach to learn user behavior. So with this 4W1H approach, you will be able to log and collect the data. Next step is to test your hypothesis and see the result. Assuming that you have a hypothesis like there is a person who likes to collect and play with diverse characters, but when it is hard to collect more characters, they leave the game. So to test the hypothesis, you need to segment the players with the data you've collected. There are some ways for segmentations. You can either segment the players rule-based or with machine learning technology. When learning your data to segment users, you can either do supervised learning, which is creating a predictive model with labeled data, whether this person is in specific segment or not, or unsupervised learning, which is creating a model without labeled data. And after you segment the players who like to collect diverse characters and those who do not, you can compare their retention or other factors that you want to test. And when testing this hypothesis, you can test with a t-test, a statistical method verifying whether the difference in means between two groups are significant. Or panel data analysis for other causal analysis methodology to see if the collector segmentation's retention decreased because they cannot collect more characters anymore. Lastly, when it is approved that your hypothesis is correct and you want to keep it, so when the hypothesis is correct, you can keep the action to make players happy. But for game developers, building a tool would be an additional burden. So that is why TentuPlay is here, so we can lessen your burden. So let game developers focus on creativity, empower your team, and succeed in games. And here's how. So just a brief introduction about our console. You can visit tentuplay.io and click Go to Console. After login, go visit Demo Project since it will be easier for you to have a look. So anyone who registered TentuPlay can see the demo project. So on the first page, you can see the general overview of the product. So pretending you are pouring the users with marketing, some will wonder your game, some will convert to motivate to play users, and after some time, the motivated users will leave the game. The revenue or the number of game users fluctuate a lot depending on how many ads you run. So this will help you to understand your game's overall status, which is calculated from the beginning of the game launch. And we call it hourglass analytics since it looks like an hourglass. And here is where the fast cycle starts. So you can segment by selecting their event, setting the trigger and the item that you want to send. Here you can set the trigger or set the segment. Or if you want to try TentuPlay AI, you can see the list of personas TentuPlay AI identifies. You can decide if this persona works for your game or not by checking the number of the users identified. And if you decide to do the experiment with this persona, set the text messages tailored to your game. Here, you can edit the text messages and run the experiment and see the performance. If you want to end the experiment, you can always turn it off. And you can see the detailed information of each persona analytics. You will be able to understand why they churn or why they make in-app purchases by looking at the last stage or last level they have played before churn or before making in-app purchases. Compare their retention rate by purchasing items with the average. TentuPlay can provide this user segment information via API so that you can use this list in game development or try other experiments. So game improvement. Here, You can check the overall game performance with glass hour again. But if this blue line goes upper right, it means it is improving. So you can see if the game is improving or not by checking the glass hour analytics. So here are other features that our customers love: VIP management and paying user management. VIP management shows the list of users from the most paid and their last activities, such as the number of the last month purchases or last login date. If the light is green, it means that the user has been active for the last 48 hours. If the light is yellow, this user is not active for the last week. If the light is red, this means the user is not active for more than 1 week. And if you click one of the users, you can see their purchase history, when they have bought and what they have bought. You'd want to keep your VIP users so you can send personalized messages or offers to the users. Paying user management is also important, as players usually make purchases early in the game. If they don't make any purchases, it is likely that they will not make any purchases in the future. You can learn when they usually make their preferred purchase and second purchase. Another feature that our customer love is currency and token reports. You can see the general inflow and outflow of the currency or tokens, where the users mostly get or where the users mostly spend. So it will help you to monitor the in-game currency, in-game economy. So here's how TentuPlay differs from others. Number one, you can take action. TentuPlay is not just analytics. You can test your game and players to see the results, and if it works, apply it immediately. TentuPlay is not limited to just a pop-up or in-game messages tool. You can extract the list of players to change their game experience or even level difficulties with remote config. Finally, AI will empower your team with better performance. It will make the cycle even faster. So join us and we will help you empower your team. So, okay, that's the end of my presentation for today. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And meanwhile, for those who would like to get today's slide, please subscribe here, scan the QR code, and later on, we will send you the slide via email.
All right. I see. There's quite pack of information as you said. Uh,
Yes.
but like I see that's interesting because in summary, like we do need kind of like data driven learning, would say that for the decision, especially in like this fast paced environment as games operation especially. So there's a couple of questions also for from the audience as well. So what how exactly like the tend to play works? Like I mean, how can we as developer and if we collaborate together, how can you collect the player data itself and do the whole fast cycle experiment? And I think from for someone who still new on this, still new on the product, like why is it important to do so, especially like you said, a lot of like end to end funnel, from not I'm agree with you that if the player itself not doing a first purchase, I don't think they're gonna be retained for the future. Could you explain more about that? Because we do have like spectrum of developer here, someone who actually
Sure,
done
sure.
the operation, and someone who just started to launch the games like in operation. And like, is it the fast cycle that you said? Is it approachable or applicable to any game genre? Or is it only like free to play, or is it also applicable to premium and semi premium, something like that? Could you explain more about that? Thank you.
Okay, okay, sure. So I think there are some several questions. So one is, how does tend to play work?
Right.
And secondly, sorry, it was like related with the
So
game genres. How?
how can you collect the how can we like collect the player data and do the fast cycle, as you said before? I mean, you
Okay,
you did
okay.
you did kind of like explain more about the dashboard, right? The dashboard, but like, as a developer, like, how can we implement those
Sure, sure,
fast cycle
sure.
experiments?
Okay, so first, for the first questions, yes, we do have SDK for different engines
Right.
to make the game developer integrate tend to play with your games. So we do provide Unity, Roblox SDK, JavaScript SDK, and REST API. So if you have installed our SDK, then our SDK will collect the game log data, and you can see your game log data at our web console, which
Right.
is you can see the analyze report, and also at the same time you can segment your players at the game dashboard, or our AI will segment the players for you, and then you select the one of the segment that you want to target to do the experiment. Select one, and you can send the personalized offer to that segment, and the offer SDK is the offer messages will send to the SDK again, and it will show the messages to the real players of your game. So basically, we have SDK tool that help you have the fast cycle working.
Mm, I see. So, and also it's working in the Unity, and Unity also, right?
Yes,
Or
yes, definitely. Unity, Roblox, JavaScript,
right,
and also REST API. So if you're
right,
not using those engines, of course, you can also integrate our Tend to Play engine with your with via REST API.
right. So let's us kind of like doing an abstract one. So that's a little bit details, right? So let's do an abstract one. Like, we talk about like, why is it important, like, why should we decide probably it's common sense for someone who actually done the game operation, but for someone who really new on this, like, looking at that dashboard, like, what is this stuff, right? I mean, why is it important to do those kind of thing? Like, why can I just, I don't know, just randomly say general ads to all player, something around that? Could you probably like, um do you have any insight on what impact that personalized ads, and also like just general ads in general, like, let's say I just blast all of the user, etc., etc.
Okay, so please forget about dashboard. If you are new to game development, currently dashboard is not very important for you for now. What I
Mm,
want to tell you is that success is really, really hard, really difficult. So you cannot succeed at once. If you are succeeding at once, you are very lucky. You have used all of your work, luck of your life. So
right.
that's almost like that. So well, what I want to try to say here is you should do the experiment to increase your success rate.
Right.
So you try this, do the experiment. If it works, continue. If it does not work, just remove it immediately. That's just a simple concept that we would like to share. And dashboard is one of the way to show you that if the if the experiment is working or not. So with this experiment, you can increase the success rate by 130%. And this experiment also include the personalized offer or personalized gaming experience. So if you are, for example, you would probably remember like previously
Mm.
mobile ads or in Google ads, everyone, or even in TV, in
Mm.
television, you can see the same ads for everyone, but you of
Yes.
course know that this ad is not working for me.
Yes.
But if it's personalized, it will get more attention of you and it will increase your success rate. I mean, the advertisement success rate.
Right.
So that is definitely working in games, and you need to do some testing experiment to personalize the gaming experience for each individual game players. So there are so of course there are some cases for one of our customers. So in previous example of a game Rise, because he was the sole developer as a game MMORPG game, so he does
Right.
not have enough
Resources.
resource
Yes.
for the game development and operation. So he implemented our tool and divided some players by their purchase amount. So there were
Right.
no purchase players and there whale to those who are likely to be whale purchases, and showing the different offers for the different segment. And it of course increased the almost DAU paying the number of the paying user over the DAU almost 30%. So this is like huge comparing with you know that the number
Yeah.
of the paying user is very small in games. So just simple segmentation, simple personalization work for games. So I really want to recommend you to do that experiment for by yourself. I'm not well, I'm here, I want to like advertise TentuPlay, but I'm not claiming that you should use TentuPlay. At least you try to do the personalization with
Right.
Firebase or PlayFab,
Or
whatever you are
just kind
using
of
right
like
now.
try to do separate persona as you've been said before, right? I see, I see. So, there's a couple of questions. So we do have like 10 minutes left. Really sorry for it. Um, in Indonesia, I would translate it for you. So, you talk a lot of like free to play kind of games for the fast cycle, right? Is there any study case for like premium games, etc.? Like let's say, this section doesn't work or something like that. Like, do you have like a study case for premium game as well
Yes,
for the
yes, of
fast cycle?
course. So premium games, because like other than free to play games, they usually use fast cycle approach before they officially launch the game. So during the beta test or during the early access.
Right,
So they segment players and show them like different quests or different level difficulties, and test the if whichever is working the better. So for premium games, it is more for the it's more like balancing side to
right,
use the fast cycle approach. And for premium game, the people are using for more on the monetization side.
right, right. So to also learn more about the user as well, right? Like what's kind of like working, sort of like in a sense, it's kind of like it's an A/B test, right? For
Yes, yes, exactly.
based
Yes.
based on data. All right.
Yes.
So we talk about a lot of like personalized ads and stuff like that. You talk more about how can we divide some user based on revenue. Do you have like for us that, let's say, beginner? I just launched my games, and should I look, or should I kind of like separate my users only based on revenue, or is there any like other KPIs that I could separate my persona into? Because you talk a lot of like persona for the data itself, right? Do you have any insight on it?
So, yeah, of course, there are several ways to do the segmentation or identifying the persona of your player. And of course, the amount of purchase is also
Yes.
important factor. And another thing could be the in-game currency that the player are using. So in-game currency is closely related with your business model. So they can be users who are using in-game currency a lot fast and using their consuming their, and also there are players who are not like saving many in-game currencies to find the best place to spend,
Right.
and those kind of patterns occurs, and you can of course segment the players based on the in-game currencies. One of the insights we often see from our customers or our game case studies is that those who saving up the in-game currencies use too much are likely to leave the game when they found it having
Ye-
difficulty
mm,
to make the decision. Like
I see.
they are not knowing too much, they're not knowing whether to spend here, buy this
Right.
the I don't buy this knife or buy these items. They just don't know and just leave the game. So what we recommend is to give them some messages to
Right.
like recommending you're saving this much in-game currency, why don't you use this place to level up, or this will help you to move on. So those kind of little bit nudge will help their retention grow.
Right. So that's also something that you've been said before about the this player that use these characters by this thing, right? To kind of like guiding the player for the for the uncertainty of the why where what item should I buy, and something like that, right? So
Yes.
uh we talk about like fast cycle a lot of this, right? So I think it's quite a new strategy that you said, not really new to the whole product management stuff, but when we
Sure.
talk when we talk about like in game development, can you share the limitation, the risk, especially like when we talk about data? Is there any like privacy issue, especially like in Indonesia itself? We do kind of like um going into more like GDPR kind of stuff like that, the processing of the user data, do you have any comment on that, any insight on the things?
Well, from our perspective, for in TentuPlay, for example, we are not using any personal data. We are not collecting
Yes.
demographics, not even the location, not gender, not at all. So we are not closely related to privacy issues,
Mm,
but we are just only collecting the data and segment the players based on their play behavior. So I would say we don't have privacy issue, but
mm,
the limitation could be this this segmentation could work for this game only.
right, right.
So if you like you can think of like you are acting here in this game and then you are playing totally differently in other game. That could
Yes.
happen a lot. So for this game, you can segment the players and optimize the game, but you cannot link players from other games, and you cannot assume that they are behaving that just exactly the same.
Yes, because there's not like one way solution, as you know,
Sure.
like one way solution for all. This is the ultimate like in-app solution for all games, something like that.
Oh, I wouldn't
Uh,
say that.
so it's interesting that you say that because you've been work on the like a lot of like companies, especially like Indonesia and Korea as well. Like, is there any insight from those company that they kind of like stuck on some like day 7 retention through day 15, stuck on the churn rate or something like that? Do you and kind of like how can they use this like fast cycle, as you say before, in more like systematic way, I would say that.
So, well, Korea has a very long history of playing game and then game
Right.
development. Well, this fast cycle approach is not very new in Korea,
Right.
and also they are already every people in gaming industry is already very professional on the game data analytics. So they only focusing on one index, which is retention.
I see.
And mostly in South Korea, people are creating MMORPG, which makes we could make a lot of money. So a
Yes.
lot of games and money are up all there, and some of the games are, and the others will be some casual games. So in South Korea, MMORPG is very heavy. So fast cycle approach is more. The game companies like prefer to have fast cycle in for especially for the casual games that is more
Right.
popular in
Understand.
South Korea. But I would like to say that this is not only limited for the casual game genres. It it all applicable to every genres, and that is what I found in Indonesia. They are more open with this fast cycle concept, and they are more active to learn more, apply more, and I that is why I'm so happy to work with people in Indonesia, because they are so, how to say, like active in learning. So
Yes,
so I am
absolutely.
very happy to working with them together as a team.
Right, because we kind of have this trust of knowledge, like there's not a lot of like formal education about games itself. So there's a lot of like games, especially like in industry, kind of still new, like first company around 90s, 90 and 2000, early 2000. So I think based on, I mean, yeah, we kind of like this, if kind of we've been personalized into someone, probably kind of like in teenage years, kind of trying to fit in into something, and in Korea probably like it's more mature. So seeing that, like, what do you think about the potential threat or like risk into the Indonesian game industry in general? Because you say it a lot, like you're kind of talking with them, and then like see a lot of them doing with the fast cycle. Is there any kind of like insight for you, for us, like Indonesian game industry, and like how can we grow further as an ecosystem, especially based on what you said before about the retention, about all these KPIs that you've been saying before.
I am very, very positive on the Indonesian game market because the market is huge, the population is very big, and everyone is now using mobile. So, especially
Yeah.
in mobile aspect, it's definitely, I will say, growing very fast. Well, in Korea, in other hands, the population is growing. Actually, it's getting smaller and smaller. So And compared to Korea, Indonesian market is, as I said, the people are very active in learning and they're
Yep.
really hardworking. So I am very positive on the Indonesian
Also really
game
consumptive, I
markets.
would say that.
And also the game genre is very diverse compared to
Exactly.
South Korea. Yes.
I see.
And I'm happy
So
to see many diverse game genres.
yeah, absolutely. So we do have like probably like 5 minutes left. So do you have like any probably closing statement on our session? Like do you have any like insight on what Indonesian could do? Like all the one that listen or listen on the rerun, what can we do as Indonesian developer to be more active into experiment new thing, because just don't do 6 month and then do just one iteration every 6 month, something around that. Like do you have any like closing statement for our session, especially for iterative kind of development?
Well, this is just well personal thing. Well, this is what I am thinking these times usually.
Right.
So when you are because we are also developing our own game, Project P.
Oh, I see, I see.
So I would like to say, like, trust yourself. I know this is like very touching moment. I'm not trying to do that, but trust yourself. I mean, if you believe that your game is fun, go for it. But you need to prove it with data. So
Yes.
if the data shows that it is maybe only fun for you, then you need to change it immediately. I know this is hard, but that will you're like if you're making the game for yourself, that's totally fine. But if you're making the game to make
For
money,
thousands of people, million of
yes,
people, right?
yes, then you should definitely need data and test at least 10 people. Test at least 10 people. More is the better, but please, if you cannot collect the log data, please at least do the survey for your game.
All right, that's cool. Closing statement. So I think data is really important. Like data is not that scary. Like just especially for creative person. Like you drowning in your assumption. Like I think my game is the best in the world. Something around that, and then
Yes.
you need to prove it with data as well, like how many
Mm.
that like your game, how many that doesn't like your games, like with hopefully with collaborate with TentuPlay as well. So if anyone has question, where should we go? Oh, like is there any like contact
Oh, I
person,
will. Yeah, sure, sure. You can just email us, contact at tentoplay.io, or if you visit tentoplay.io website, you can see the chat. So you can leave any comments or questions on the chatting channel. Or when you register for the slide, we will reply you with our emails. And then if you have any questions, then you can always give us the reply, get back to us with the email and give us ping me any questions if you have any.
all right, I think that's kind of good for closing the session. Thank you so much, Hayon, for the session. Hopefully, we gonna meet again soon in the futures about talking about a lot of like data, analytic, etc. Please contact guys if you want to contact Tend to Play. Please contact at tentoplay.io or get the slide on the QR, or is that the same with the bit.ly on the bottom, producer? I think so. There's bit.ly/ag tend to play. Probably you can also get those QR. Um, there is a question. There is a question.
Oh,
Should
okay.
we go a little bit, like 5 to 10 minutes?
Sure, sure, no problem.
Yeah. Okay.
I would love to.
So the speaker mentioned that cycle is to be done to achieve ultimate value. What if one, two, or more cycle is inconclusive, or even worse? The result is getting worse than before. I think that, like, when we talk about experiment, like, this is a good point. Like, we kind of change something, and it's kind of like more broken than before. Like,
Sure, sure,
how
of
can you,
course.
do you have an insight, or like, when you're working on the companies, do you have any
Of course, that could
uh
happen. So what I would recommend is do the A/B testing, or simply just segment the people in two groups and do the experience for one group, do the fast cycle, and it is worse, just keep this original, how to say, the original feature that you
right?
have tested. So that would definitely, I would want to recommend. And if it's better, of course, you should put also the same feature to this original group.
Yes, because I think when you talk about experiment, it's not like right or wrong, right? It's kind of like, what insight could you get? If some feature works, some feature don't, like, just keep what's working, as you've been
Yes,
said before, right?
yes.
But like, yeah, it's not always be perfect. I would say that, right? It's always gonna be like, oh, we change this and it's go up. It's probably up and down, and based on data analytic, like, the more you can clean the data, would say that, with the right persona, I would say, as you've been saying before, we could
Sure.
get more insight. Probably that's for me. That's from that's from me, as you know.
Yes, yes, and I totally agree with that. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is there any question from producers, or could we, let me check a private chat? Producers, is there? That's all. Okay. I think that's all. Thank you so much, Hyun, for this session. Hopefully, we can meet again. Thank you, guys,
Sure.
for this
Thank you.
learning about the data, and hopefully, with this, we could iterate further, especially like, if the games, if it's, all of this stuff, even ourselves, when we can just do A/B testing for ourselves as well, like, for all the decision that we do. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you, Hyun. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week, probably. Thank you, everyone, coming from
Thank you
Skill
very much.
Tree.
Have a great evening. Thank
Have-
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.